What's going on, guys? This is Carl's Racerred channel. I am riding my mighty 2008 Yamaha R1 Raven Edition. It's a beautiful bike, beautiful day. I'm in downtown Caldwell, just coming off the freeway right here. A lot of people say you don't need a 1000cc motorcycle because it's just got too much horsepower. Well, I say that a 600cc just doesn't have the PP ability, the passing power. You can't just roll that on and have that mind-blowing acceleration at any time. And I think that the right rider can get a lot of safety out of this bike that wouldn't be available on a 600. And yes, it may be unnecessary, but you know, chocolate and boobies are also unnecessary, but the world would be a really dark place without chocolate and boobies. One of my biggest concerns while riding a street bike in the city like this is getting rear-ended. So I'm always watching my mirrors, especially when I slow down. A lot of people give sport bike riders a hard time for going too fast, but honestly, that's probably the safest way to ride, especially when you're on the freeway. To go faster than those around you is to keep your obstacles in front of you. So if you're always passing people, it makes things a lot safer. However, in this situation where I'm downtown, that's not the safe way to go. You should do the speed limit because you're having to look at these intersections and watch for drivers who are just going to blow through. And I don't worry about it as much when I'm in a car, but if a driver blows through an intersection and hits me on this bike, I'm as good as dead meat. So I don't want to end up straight through Granny's windshield and into the afterlife. So I know that can happen, even with the amount of experience that I have. That doesn't mean that I don't go fast sometimes, but when I'm in the city, I ride completely different. Ride with one finger on the front brake, that's pretty much universal. I always do that. It helps my reaction time considerably, and it also reduces the panic factor of grabbing the front brake too hard. I can actually stoppie this bike just with my one finger. See this car here? Yeah, I gotta watch that. Came up a little fast on the stoplight, but they did stop, so I'm happy with it. Didn't try to kill me. You know, when you're riding around, especially in the city, you gotta have your peripheral vision activated. Otherwise, bad things are way more likely to happen. I'm always coming up with scenarios, and that's just what I do when I ride. I'm always coming up with different scenarios and different ways out. That's what you should be doing. It doesn't mean I'm stressed. I'm not stressing right now, but I am coming up with all kinds of different scenarios. There's millions of different routes I could take and maneuvers to perform in different scenarios coming into each situation, and that's what you should be thinking about. You shouldn't just be riding along, grabbing your brakes, not looking in your mirrors, not having a plan out if something goes sideways, because we're in the western states and things can go western at any time. But I'm just kidding. We actually have pretty friendly people, pretty low crime. A lot of people associate Idaho with being racist. That's just silly. I mean, there's not a lot of black people here, not a lot of Hispanics. Like, the ratio is increasing, though. There's more and more of those, but throughout the years, I've had a few black friends, and actually some of the most quality people I've ever known were black. That's not to say racism doesn't exist. I've just never seen it anywhere in Idaho. In fact, you know, the cool friends can banter back and forth and make racist jokes. That doesn't make you a racist, though. There was a guy that I used to work for, a black guy, and I wouldn't normally mention that other than this story pertains to his skin color. He's probably the best person I've ever worked for. And this was my first job at the box store. I don't know if I can say a specific one. But this truck driver comes in, and this truck driver is from, I want to say, South Carolina, one of the southern states. And he comes in and he tells me they allow them to lead you guys? What is going on over here in these states? And I was like, I was just so confused. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, they allow them to be over us here. And I'm like, who's them? I was so confused. And this is real racism. Like, this guy was a real racist. It pissed me off because here this guy is, who's, you know, the most quality person, one of the most quality people in that store, and he's being put down because of a silly factor that has nothing to do with anything. Racism definitely exists, but that's the only time I've ever been exposed to it in Idaho. And it wasn't from an Idaho, and it was a guy from down south. There's a lot of anti-white stuff, and I've experienced a lot of racism towards white people. They say that the white guys kill off the Indians with the smallpox infested sweater or blanket. It was a blanket, not a sweater, but regardless, there's that story, and it is 100% false. It is true that the guys coming here from all the other countries did carry diseases, and the Indians did die from those diseases, but there was no giving them smallpox on purpose. That's false and more hate towards white people. So I think there's an indoctrination for some reason in this country to hate white people. You know, when it comes to our past, even with slavery, there were black people living alongside the white people here in the U.S. before we started purchasing Nigerians or Africans, mostly from Nigeria. And a lot of conquered tribes over there would sell us those conquered people who would have otherwise either been tortured, killed, or eaten. A lot of them were cannibals over there. And so the white people showed up on boats, and they would buy these conquered tribes. And that was the majority of what happened back then, is we would buy black people from other black people. In fact, we would bring them to the United States, and the black people here were known as some of the most brutal and mean slave owners. And they were some of the first slave owners as well. And so it's not a racist topic. It's not a topic even about skin color. It's more about your geographical location, because we were buying from these other countries in order to get free labor here. You know, in Africa right now, current times, during the making of this video, there are way more slaves in Africa right now. Black people owning other black people. There are way more of those right now than were ever brought to the United States. That's a fact. And so white people were in fact the ones who did away with slavery, the first ever to do away with slavery ever in the history of the globe. It was the white people who decided to do away with it. Abe Lincoln wanted to send all of the slaves back to their home countries because he just thought their culture was not compatible with the culture here in the United States. He just said, you know what, I don't think that you should be slaves here, but I also don't think you're compatible. Well, the black leaders of the time were sending letters to Abe Lincoln, and I'm paraphrasing here, but a lot of them said something to the effect of, we've been here, we mean to be here, we have no intention of leaving, it's our right to be here, period. And so the black people of that time did not want to leave the United States and go back to their home countries, because they knew that in fact their home countries were brutally eating each other and murdering each other. I'm glad that, you know, everybody has come to the United States who has come here and has sought refuge here, and you know, they've all been able to experience an amazing life here. Even if you're poor here, you're rich for, you know, just about anywhere else in the world. Yeah, I get to benefit from that, and so does everybody else, so it's amazing. But I do think there are cultural things that are being brought here still that are not compatible with the United States culture. And a lot of that's tribalism, and that exists among white people, black people, Mexicans. It exists among everybody. There's tribalism and infighting and creating of gangs, and it makes absolutely no sense. You know, I think if you come here and commit any kind of crime, you should be sent home immediately. No criminals allowed. What's going on, guys? I'm back. So anyways, I think there's a lot of unfounded hate towards white people in this country, and it's unfortunate. And when you talk about it, I think there's a lot of assumption automatically that you're a racist, and it's super sad. I'm not saying that there's no racism, because I've seen it firsthand, but I've seen it firsthand one time in my entire life, and it wasn't from an Idahoan. I've been all around Idaho. I haven't seen racists. Well, I know the hate got amplified during Obama's reign, so I know we soon forget when it comes to topics like the political ones where, you know, somebody was in office. But I still clearly remember that you could not say Merry Christmas when Obama was in office, and there was a lot of racist tension across America, and a lot of, you know, just hate towards white people. You know, there's a lot of equal opportunity employment even still, and don't be fooled by the name, because it's not equal opportunity. It's not based off of skill or experience or knowledge. It's based off of, well, let's see, you know, even though there's 9 white candidates here that are amazing, we don't have any black people working for us, so we have to pick that one, and they're not even qualified at all. I've seen that take place 1,000 times, not firsthand. I've probably seen it firsthand 100 times though, to be honest. I've seen it a lot. There was a place that I used to work that hired just because we didn't have enough fill in the blank, whatever race it was. So we would hire them, and they had zero experience or, you know, any knowledge whatsoever. We would hire them, and then they would do something really dangerous. It was a dangerous job that I did. There's this one lady that we hired. She was straight from like Nigeria, I think, somewhere over there. And I talked to her for a while, and she said this last winter it started snowing, and she started to gather it because she didn't believe anyone when they were saying it was just water. She thought that it was salt and that it was worth a lot of money, so she started gathering it in buckets. I was like, there's no way you believe that. It's because she had never seen snow before. She just moved here, and how? I have no idea. But we gave her a badge and a gun, and she went to the range and almost shot some people, and we had to fire her. But it's a clear example of not only hiring somebody for absolutely no reason over other people, but also creating a very dangerous situation to do so. It was sketchy, for sure. She had no communication skills. She could barely speak English. But when you need a black female, you need a black female. And that was the only one, so it is what it is. The world has gone mad. This video is going to get demonetized and probably get me canceled, but that's okay. I say what I want, do what I want.
Alright guys, I just wanted to thank my Patreon supporters. That would be Lance Darnell, Jim Jolson Jr., Kurt Kinghorn, Daniel Roush, Brian Thomason, Wade James, Moto Creek, Nathan Young, Jason Froling. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you.